Whether you're nervous for the future or are already checked out, you should know what to play next, just in case. There are a ton of great survival games out there, Valheim, Greenhell, Subnautica, but I'm only going to be suggesting zombie survival games only, so I've cut it down to 5 I'd actually put hours into right now, starting with number 1, Vane. Vane is an open world zombie survival game that has really taken the 7 Days to Die community by storm. In fact, I can't go a day without one of you asking me to play it or telling me you've moved on to it already. I've put about 30 hours into it myself, and I can definitely say it is a very fun game. It's actually only made by 2 people, and despite that they've done a lot of work over the past couple of years. Vane is a deep and immersive zombie survival experience with action skills, a handcrafted map, hundreds of weapons and lots of things to craft, farming, base defense and base building, vehicles, multiplayer, traits, injuries, illnesses, and in my opinion, a great soundtrack. The game is still early days, but it's definitely something you could get a lot of fun out as a PvE zombie survival fan. The game isn't perfect, of course. It runs on Unreal Engine 5 and has some performance issues at times. The melee combat is a little bit underwhelming, and it's still a ways off of having the amount of content that 7 Days has, and certainly doesn't have the level of destruction that 7 Days has, and honestly, spoiler alert, very few games do have that level of destruction. But if you like open world zombie survival games that are punishing, immersive, and have a lot of crafting depth, Vane is the go. Vane is $20 and has 90% positive reviews on Steam, and if you're not sure, there's even a free demo on Steam right now. No reason not to give it a shot. But what's something a little more tested, a little more battle hardened? Well, that's where number 2 comes in. For the last 5 years on my time in YouTube, I have heard the word Project Zomboid 1,000 times, recommended to me by 7 Days to Die players for years and years. And you know what? They're absolutely correct, and I've since put a couple of 100 hours into it. Now, elephant in the room, Project Zomboid is an isometric game, not a first-person game, and I know a lot of players just don't mess with that kind of gameplay, fair enough. But let's talk about the incredible depth of Project Zomboid. You are not the main character of Project Zomboid. You're just another poor soul trapped in the zombie apocalypse with no help, no respawns, and no chance of survival. If you die, and you can spawn in on the same map as a new character and go find your zombified self if you want your stuff back. Project Zomboid really pushes the limits of what a zombie survival game can achieve as far as realism goes without making it absolutely miserable. And it has everything you'd expect from a game described as that. It's like The Sims, but utterly fucked. You have to manage food, water, temperature, illnesses, injuries, exhaustion, body weight, muscle mass, boredom, depression, anxiety, and terror. The power will go out and you'd better hope you found a generator or your food will rot in your broken fridge. The water will go out and you'd better have been preparing with water collectors, but of course droughts will happen, so you need to stockpile everything. Farming is about as deep as a zombie game can go, with pests, hydration and fertilization. It has a skill system where you read books to gain XP multipliers and then have to pretty much work away at every skill manually, from swinging weapons all the way to cooking, farming, tailoring and woodworking. It has animal husbandry. It's got real horde mechanics where huge hordes migrate across the map, naturally repopulating the cities and buildings if you don't clear them out periodically. None of that respawning in a wooden cupboard bullshit from 7 Days. I could go on and on about Project Zomboid, but honestly, if you're comfortable with the isometric perspective, you're losing out on a lot by not playing Project Zomboid. Project Zomboid is $20 and has 94% positive reviews on Steam. That speaks for itself. But if Project Zomboid isn't your thing, maybe the next game is a little more your speed. Surrounded. What can I say about Surrounded? Okay, imagine Unturned, but good. You've got a character creator, extensive game customization, an open world with repairable vehicles, lots of stuff to loot, trading, a wealth of melee weapons and ranged weapons. It's got airdrops, zombies, zombies that run, zombies that are irradiated, acid zombies, boss zombies. It has radiation zones with better gear that you can prepare for with masks and meds, and it has first and third person modes. Honestly, I wish I could explain more, but honestly, with Surrounded, it would just be redundant. Everything you expect from a zombie survival open world crafting game, Surrounded has. And it's like $12 with 91% positive Steam reviews, and I'm fairly certain it has a very small dev team as well, so it's quite impressive for what they have. You just can't go wrong with it, as long as you don't mind the art style. The next one is probably the most controversial, and it's another game with a different perspective, Human-Z. Human-Z is the lowest rated game on this list, with only 71% positive on Steam as of making this video. It's also the game I have the least experience with. I did find the camera controls a bit what's the word, fucky. Regardless, it has a character creator, a trait system, customizable difficulty, crafting and building, combat that I found pretty satisfying actually, and vehicles, as well as a horse, which is an acoustic vehicle, and it's got farming, hunting, shooting, looting, everything you're probably looking for in a zombie survival game. The reason it has such relatively low ratings as far as I can tell is because it does have some pretty shit controls and UI control at times, as well as its bizarre choice in camera mechanics. But if that's something that doesn't bother you, it's a perfectly good zombie survival open world game. So the final pick, though I do want to emphasize that this isn't particularly ordered, certainly not by my opinion or perceived quality or anything like that, it's just all these games deserve attention and I'm ordering them because that's how you make one of these videos. The next game I picked here is number 5, State of Decay. Not even particularly State of Decay 2, but the entire franchise. But we're going to focus on what is the latest entry, State of Decay 2. And this one is actually on console as well, so that's nice. Now State of Decay 2 has 84% positive reviews on Steam, and if I'm not mistaken is the most expensive game on this list at about $30. But of course this game is a Microsoft product. And despite being funded by the very concept of evil, it does seem largely undamaged by that. A rare instance of a game actually benefiting from having a big budget from a large corporation. Now, State of Decay isn't your conventional survival game. It doesn't have a food and water bar per se, for example, but it does nonetheless have the same gameplay loop you'd expect from such a game because, well, you see, while there's no food and water bar for your character in State of Decay, it does it a little differently. You have your community, which is a pool of playable characters that you recruit in the world that all have different strengths, differences, abilities, and problems, and of course they all need food and water or they'll start to abandon you. There's also a host of other needs your characters will have, and indeed they have personalities that can hamper or boost your survival when they come into conflict. It really is a great simulation of having a little gang of post-apocalyptic survivors who are all, three-dimensional with agendas, desires, weaknesses, friendships, and rivalries. And of course this system allows full permadeath mechanics, as if one of the survivors die, you just have to play as another one. This also allows for real exhaustion mechanics where you have to look after your player character, but you don't necessarily have to pause the fun while boss man here is taking a nap. You can switch to a new character until he's ready to go again. But it's in your interest anyway to play as everyone, to level your full community up and push them all to their limits to level up your camp to its absolute strongest, take on the world. There's even almost like an ideology system where as you level your characters up, certain personality traits are discovered and they can become the leader, leading your camp down different paths from being militaristic tyrants, diplomatic traders, or isolationist preppers. And of course, this means that there are communities out in the world who will try to stand against you or ask for your help or even just sabotage your community. You can trade, you can kill, you can recruit them, and your actions will have consequences for your own survival. If you want to trade with them or squeeze them for support, you're gonna have to help them stay alive. And of course, sometimes you have to choose between which of these outside communities are gonna get your help first, and they will remember who you pick. These mechanics are, in my opinion, what really set State of Decay apart from other franchises, but there's more. The combat is absolutely visceral, with huge hordes of zombies with special infected that can tear you a new one. There's the plague heart system that allows you to slowly clear out your world of the more dangerous types of zombies, not of the regular infected, they're always going to be wandering about, but the plague walkers. These unique zombies are a particular threat to your community because your characters can catch this disease and your medical preparations will be put to the test, or maybe you can just execute them if that's how you want to play your community. It's up to you. The maps are handcrafted and interesting, with hundreds of melee weapons, outfits, guns, vehicles, and other items to loot, craft, or buy. You need to set up outposts and defend them, but in exchange they can provide your community with stable sources of things like power, food, ammo, parts, basically whatever you need. The only true limitation I think State of Decay has is there's no conventional base building. Instead, you choose a pre-chosen base location and pick what buildings you need. But honestly, if you're the kind of person who prefers the combat, the looting, the exploration loop to digging and building your own base, State of Decay is perfect for you. It's a very action-focused survival game. But what about new survival games coming out this year? Well, why don't you check out this list and see if any of these interest you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.